Yes, now a new bill has been introduced to help grow and develop the township economy. The Gauteng Premier David Makhura has signed the Township Economic Development Bill into law yesterday. It's hoped the bill will help create more jobs and bring the much needed support for small businesses. I'm joined now by the MEC for Economic Development, Pakstau, to take the conversation forward. MEC, thank you for your time. We simply just taking forward the conversation that we had started a few weeks ago when the bill had been passed in the provincial legislature. It's now enacted in that it has been signed into law. It's now an act of the province of Gauteng, having been signed by the Premier. Just for the benefit of our viewers, what makes you so excited about this bill being signed into law by the Premier? What will it do in as far as the township economy is concerned?
Thank you very much, Tulas, and good afternoon. The Act now enables us to put in place measures to support economic development in historically black townships and to introduce a number of measures to enable us to do this. The first is that it directs that we should establish a financing mechanism to support township-based enterprises. The Premier announced, amongst others, that we have now entered into a formal partnership with the IDC, the SME Fund, as a mechanism through which they will be able to then administer the processes of dispersing the resources, but also bringing in their own capital as part of the partnership we've entered into with them. I did indicate in our last conversation that jointly between ourselves and the IDC, we have committed 500 million, 250 million apiece to this financial mechanism that we're setting in place. And this week, as I just indicated, we appointed the SME Fund. Yesterday, the team was also adjudicating on other financial partners that are coming on board. So we've already started the ball rolling from the financing mechanism point of view. The Act also allows us to designate township enterprise zones, which are dedicated zones for industrial and commercial development in the township. It directs that the MEC for Economic Development must, within 6 months, designate or rather issue regulations in the first instance of these township enterprise zones, and subsequent to that, designate these township enterprise zones. We have taken a view that we should run these processes parallel. So we've started with the process of the regulations. We've got a draft in place. I've considered the draft. We will be publishing this draft for public comment, and we anticipate that by June we should be able to pass the regulations. Parallel to that, we would also be designating or initiating the process of designating township enterprise zones. Now, what's important to these township enterprise zones is that they enable us to do what we call benefit stacking. They enable us to concentrate a number of efforts by all of government in these township enterprise zones, including procurement directly from businesses that are located in the township enterprise zones, including incentives in particular industries that have incentives. We indicated that we have made a proposal to National Treasury to introduce a township economy incentive. We've detailed the proposal to them. It's currently being considered by the Minister of Finance. We have said that as the provincial government, we are prepared to take a haircut so that we're able to finance this tax incentive. And this tax incentive would be focused on ensuring that the commercial and industrial complexes that we anticipate are developed and incentivized, that businesses that trade in the townships have active economic activity and create jobs. So it's a whole range of efforts.
Yes, absolutely.
Together.
MEC, so if I'm someone who runs a small bakery, well, let's not call it a bakery. Let's say I bake, and that's part of what I do, and I sell scones somewhere at a taxi rank in Bara, just outside the Krisani Baragwanath Hospital. It's a busy hub there. If I'm that person who's doing that, selling scones and acha there, what should be, and I know I'm stereotyping township enterprises here, and no offense intended, because, there are many, many other enterprises that don't fall within this stereotype. But for now, let's go with this. If I'm that person hearing this conversation and hearing you say that there's this new act, and part of it, and I think I want us to focus on the funding mechanisms, this partnership with the IDC as well as the SME fund. What should be my immediate reaction if my dream is to grow from just selling scones and acha at Bara taxi rank, but actually to be able to supply, for instance, government for their needs at Bara Hospital across the road if they need bread?
At first, in all possibilities, you are likely to not have registered a business and not have a business account. We have established that about 90% of enterprises that operate in the townships do not have a business account, with the majority of these also not registered. So the first thing that we would do in terms of this act is to ensure what we call a lower rung of compliance so that people can register without the complications that necessarily they've had to go through over time, and that has discouraged them to register their companies. So we will be able to recognize them as existing enterprises, which then places a number of obligations on us. The first is to ensure dedicated supply development and enterprise development. This is an obligation that we have to ensure that enterprises that exist in the townships are supported, are incubated, are given the necessary equipment and capability to be able to trade. They would also be able to register on a database of suppliers into provincial government, and we would be able to procure directly from these enterprises, of course, aggregating their efforts depending on the needs of government at different points. So if you are baking, you would possibly be able to supply bread into hospitals. And as I said, aggregating on the basis of the size of your business and your ability to cooperate and collaborate with others. But also we would be able to finance your growth, the growth of your enterprise. And in that case, you would be able to then grow the business and become more competitive.
All right, MEC Pakstau, I'm completely out of time. Always a pleasure talking to you. That's the MEC for Economic Development in the province of Gauteng, Pakstau there. So yeah, there you have it. In fact, it was hailed by most political parties in the legislature was this Township Enterprise Bill. Up to 500 million rand made available immediately for the funding and opportunities. But the key is compliance. So registration in the manner that the MEC was describing there could open many, many corridors of growth and development in township enterprises. It's now an act. It's been signed by the Premier.